started Fabulous Places back in 2008, it began as a hobby while I worked full-time as a PA, and then I was made redundant. So it was pretty much what I needed to follow that path and see where Fabulous Places would take me. It began as a directory, an online directory of really gorgeous small independent businesses and makers in my home county of Derbyshire. Over time, I followed opportunities and tried a few things that were put in front of me, and I went into events. So it's still based around small independent businesses, but I am predominantly an event planner now. I bring together gorgeous small businesses in a beautiful venue and curate markets. They have been going now for 12, this is year 12 of markets, and I'm still loving them, still doing that. In addition to, since 2014, I've been running workshops, and they vary from creative business workshops to lifestyle workshops where I'll collaborate with other small business owners and bring workshops that support and inspire people. It's something that you can either attend in person or view online. My inspiration for starting Fabulous Places back in 2008, it was because I, with my husband and our dogs, would go and visit lovely towns and villages, and I would always stumble across a gorgeous independent shop, and I would take their card, pop it in this file that I had, and then suddenly I had this collection of amazing places. And then I found that friends would ask where's good to go if they pop into a certain town, and I thought maybe there's something here. My husband, luckily for me, is an amazing software developer, website developer. So I said, what's the best way of doing this? And he said, well, with a website, really, probably better than a blog. Have it as a place where you can have a directory as such. So that's what Fabulous Places started as. But my inspiration for starting the events was because I would travel a good 2 hours really for an event like that. I would go down to London for the Country Living Fair, which seemed the irony of going to the centre of London for what was a country living event. But it was just wonderful, and it was a date in my diary, and it's something I really look forward to. I would also travel for other events. If the flyer looked good and I was enticed, I would travel. So I did feel that I was travelling for those types of events, but there wasn't anything in Derbyshire, and Derbyshire's beautiful. It had so much potential for that type of event. So that's where the idea of the events came from. I had this wonderful network of amazing small businesses. I started researching venues, started off small, and then I moved to the huge Roundhouse in Derby and was there for 10 years, running spring, summer and Christmas markets. It was a wonderful time, and then now I'm reinventing them and working with some gorgeous countryside venues to bring the markets post-COVID. So yeah, the inspiration was purely just to satisfy my kind of need to have the type of event that I would travel to on my doorstep. I think I can honestly say that I'm probably over-inspired. I'm always looking for colours and aspects in shops and just being out and about, even when I'm on holiday, when I really should be switching off, and I do switch off, but there's always a part of my brain that's turned on that will see a colour or a garland or something or a bag, and you think, that's an amazing bag. That happened a few, maybe 2-3 years ago, and I saw a canvas shopper bag, and it was the perfect design of the bag that I wanted for the markets. and I was determined to find it, track it down, and ironically it ended up being the supplier of the bags that I've been using for years, but I just wasn't aware that they did this amazing beach bag style. So I'm always inspired. I love to go to London. I find that really inspiring. And as the seasons change, for me it's really important because my markets reflect the seasons, and I always like to bring all of that into the market. So when you arrive, you know what time of year it is because you're met with that straight away. So I'm inspired by nature. I'm inspired by going to London, going to some of my favourite places like Anthropologie, Columbia Road, where it's filled with the most amazing creative small businesses that I'll immerse myself in it, walk in and out of the shops, and you'll just be inspired the way that things are displayed, the way that they package things, the colours they use, the way that they dress the windows. Always inspired. Visually, I love to put myself in those situations of inspiration because I know that I'll come away with something, whether it's a colour, a certain garland style, just something that takes me on that journey of creating something completely different for me that I can use going forward. So also online, my phone has a folder called screenshots. Yours will have it too. Mine is full of I would say it's like a record of things that I've seen and I really like as I'm scrolling. And I know there's lots of other ways to save that and categorize it, but that folder for me, it's full of gold. I like to think of it. It's things that I absolutely love: colors, design, pictures that I've seen, seasonal inspiration pictures. It's fashion, everything's in there. So if I'm ever feeling a bit uninspired and I'm needing a kickstart to begin the process of designing or curating something, I will go into that folder because I can pretty much 99% guarantee that there's something in there that will just spark that creative journey. Pinterest is amazing. I've been using Pinterest for years. I remember planning my wedding, my flowers, having all of that on, and I went with my iPad to my florist and showed her all of the lovely flowers that I love. So I love Pinterest. It's amazing and I heavily use it. And then of course Instagram. There's no place like Instagram. I go on every day and it's like a comfort of gorgeous imagery that keeps me tapped into an industry that I love. So for me, it's important to make sure that I'm regularly tapping into those places to make sure that when I'm creating what I do, that it's current and it's always moving forward. A typical working day, I don't think I have a typical working day. Compared to when I was a PA, I would pretty much say I had a typical working day. But I think the beauty of working for yourself is that you can break that mould, and I love things being different, and I plan my week for them to be different as well. But I would say, get up, it's about getting Lily to school, walking the dog, and I share those duties with my husband who's self-employed as well. So it's very much about making sure, and I love to, I have to tidy the kitchen and the living room. They have to be just so that I can kind of think, okay, I can get everything out, I'm ready to start the day. I have to remove clutter. So I do that process. But what I tend to do is plan my week so I'm not doing the same thing every day because I'm not particularly good at that. But my working day starts when Lily has been safely delivered to school. I'll make myself a coffee and I'll just have a moment where I'm catching up on Instagram, I'm catching up, I'll have a quick look on Pinterest, I'll emails, and I'll just have that moment where I'm just checking in, and then I'll start my tasks. I like to always take a lunch break because I was never good at working through when I was a PA. I'd always have that moment of I need food and I need that moment to just, whether it's just sitting on the sofa with a magazine, but I always prioritise lunch. and then I have until around 3 o'clock to work as well. But I do find that I'm a bit of a night owl. I work really well in the evenings. I'm more creative in the evenings. I find, I don't know what it is, but things just work better. I kind of accomplish more when I work in the evenings, but I don't like to do that too much. And it's normally when Lily goes to bed, and if there's something that's really niggling me and I haven't been able to do it in the day, or my day hasn't gone quite as I'd hoped, then I'll do that in the evening. Yeah, so I definitely don't have a typical working day, but I do have a typical start and a typical end to it. But yeah, I love not quite knowing what the next day is going to deliver. And I think that's pretty much why I wanted to start my own business, because I didn't want it to be too routine, and I wanted the flexibility of saying, actually tomorrow I'm going to change how I'm going to do things, and I'm going to push that task to another day. So yeah, I'm very flexible. Yeah, and that just works for me. The pandemic impacted my business before it officially arrived. So before lockdown, I already had to make the decision to cancel my spring market. It wasn't even a possibility of postponing it, because things just looked so glum, and the idea of the market going ahead, and in theory it could have gone ahead, but the idea of opening and having lots of people in the roundhouse, and then the next day it was Mother's Day, so there would be all that family gathering. Yeah, I had to make the decision to cancel that event. It was a really tough decision, because as an event planner, the last thing you want to do is to cancel an event, because it's not just the cancelling, it's the months of preparation leading up to it, it's the financial implications, it feels like a huge fail, even though it's out of your control, and it was for the very best reason, and it was the right decision. And there's no part of me that thinks anything else, but at the time, gosh, that was tough. So yeah, the pandemic impacted my business straight away, because it's a people-based business. The idea of my business really circles around gathering, having a lovely day out, and as we all know, a couple of years ago, that was definitely not a prospect that any of us really wanted to embrace. So yeah, my events stopped. My business as I knew it stopped. I didn't really see what that year was going to bring. I remember lots of hourly walks with my husband and my little girl, and I would chat with him about, what does this, I'm not quite sure what this means. I don't see in reality this getting better quickly. It was still very much the unknown, but there was very much a feeling of, this is not good. I can't see an actual physical in-person event happening this year, so what am I going to do? And it took a couple of months, really. It was refunding people, having those moments of, gosh, not only are we in a pandemic and I have my little girl at home and I'm homeschooling, I'm actually trying to reinvent myself, and if I can reinvent myself, what does that mean? Is it feasible? So it was a long process of kind of everything that came into my head. I would just say it to my husband and say, what about this? What about this? So that's when I decided to take the markets online. I kind of planned out how I thought that they would go. I didn't want to do an Instagram fair. I wanted something of substance, something that somebody could browse, that we were all stuck at home. There wasn't any possibility of shopping. So my plan was to kind of recreate the markets, but online, so that you could log on for that weekend and still feel that you enjoyed a little bit of that lovely market bubble, that it wasn't completely gone. And they went really well. They saw me through a year of kind of no events, no potential events. There wasn't any point, in my opinion, to even begin to plan. I did see other events start up, and then they were cancelled. So I'm not doing that. I'm not taking the small businesses in my community down that journey. I think it's good to remain positive, but I was also very realistic as well. So I kept everything online, and it worked really well. I took with a collaboration I have with another small business is the School of Christmas. So Clara and I took that online as well, and it worked really well. And I'm really proud of the online markets. They have enabled me to stay connected with the small businesses and also stay connected with my customer base. So over the years, I've organically grown my customer base, and these are people that love the markets. They know the quality of them, they know the experience that they're going to have, they know it's a date in the diary that they look forward to. So by continuing that, even though it was online, I was still connecting with them, and I was still building my business. I generated an income, and also I came out of it, the other side, having this lovely balance of in-person that I've held and I'm able to plan at the moment, and also the online. So for me, it didn't start as a very positive time. I definitely, having put everything into perspective, it was just a year that we needed to navigate and to see where it took us. But yeah, for me, looking back, it enabled me to create a section of my business that I would never have had the time to create. But also coming out of it on reflection, it did mean that unfortunately the Roundhouse closed as a venue. So after 10 years of a markets there, it kind of put a full stop on that. So I was able to start to get a little bit of respite and to sit down and really plan what I wanted to do with the in-person markets going forward. So it was a lovely moment of blank space that enabled me to look back, take the bits that I loved, try and say no to the bits that I wasn't particularly enjoying, and recreate in-person markets that reflect what I really want to offer now, and that I've been wanting to kind of move towards for a couple of years prior to the pandemic. So yeah, I can only take positive things from the work side of the pandemic. It enabled me to reflect and restart, to breathe and have that time and come back and have a new energy for what I do. And I think that's the most important thing, is this new energy that I have for them, because no event now will be the same. I'll be out and about at different venues, and that's the beauty of what I have now, is I can curate something that's completely different, and I can go looking at venues again and find amazing countryside venues that I probably wouldn't have had the capacity to look at and work with prior to the pandemic. So yeah, lots of good things, lots of things that I look back and think, gosh, that was lots of sleepless nights and probably a few extra wrinkles and dark circles. But yeah, I am grateful for that moment of respite, because it enabled me to restart my business in a way that I really wanted to. An online presence is essential for my business. When I started Fabulous Places, there wasn't the platforms that there are now. It makes me feel very old when I say this, but it was all about print and paid for advertising in magazines and newspapers, and that was something that I never wanted to do, and I refused to do because they were incredibly expensive. I just didn't have the money to plough into it with the unknown. I didn't know how it would work for me, whether it would be worthwhile, and it was a lot of money to risk. But also I'm a big believer in being organic with the way that you showcase your business and the way that you grow your following. So everything would be printed. I would be out, I would have several days where I'd be out and about in the car, and I would deliver flyers and put posters up on notice boards. I would leave flyers in gorgeous little coffee shops where I knew the people who I would want to come to the market, where they would go for coffee, where they would shop. So I would spend the time doing that, and there weren't many other options. So now, looking back, gosh, online is amazing. I can't complain. I mean, when I hear people complain about Instagram, it really niggles me because it's free. It's a platform where you can showcase your business in the most beautiful way. People can choose to follow you, they can interact with you. It's an amazing platform. I do use Facebook, however, it's not my favourite. It doesn't have the same feel. So Instagram pretty much is the main thing I use, the main thing I focus on, compared to how I started FabPlace. And I think that was a really good grounding, and I am very grateful for that, and I'm very I'm glad I put the legwork in, literally, when I started. But now everything is at the touch of a button. Everything's in the moment. For me, promoting my business, but also seeing what everyone else is doing, it's invaluable. So for me to promote a market, the first place I'll mention is on Instagram. For me to communicate that stallholder space is open, I'll do that on Instagram. So stories, reels, and posting on my feed are my main go-to. I put so much time and effort into that because it's of great value to my business, and sometimes when I think I don't have the time to do it, or it's annoying because I feel like I've got to put so much effort in and I can't think of anything that I want to put up today. So I'll always have that moment of, hang on, so if this disappeared tomorrow and you woke up and you have an event to promote, how are you going to do that? Where are you going to start? So I love Instagram. It's, for me as a creative, I love creating beautiful pictures. Growing up with my dad, who loved photography, he would develop his own photos. So I've always looked for an image and taken a picture of something that is beautiful and I want to remember. So yeah, it's my creative space. I see it as the best portfolio for my business. If somebody wants to know what I'm about, the best place to do that is to pop over to my Instagram. I would probably direct you to my Instagram before my website. I put more time into my website, into my Instagram, than I do my website, which is quite shameful, and something I want to work on this year. But yeah, Instagram for me is amazing. If you're a small business and you're not using it, I think you really are missing out. I am incredibly thankful for my previous career as a PA. It did enable me to learn all kinds of different things. As a PA, you've got so many different hats. You're put under a lot of pressure. You look after not only one person, but you take on everything that they look after as well. So responsibility and deadlines and finances and planning, all of those types of things that I just did when I started my own business. It did enable me to utilise all of those skills. So for me, I don't outsource a lot. I'm also a complete control freak and I'm not very good at delegating. So the outsourcing probably isn't the first thing that I would think of. I like to learn how to do things myself. I've taught myself Photoshop. My husband would really like me to get more involved with websites, but that's a big no. I'm not, that side of things doesn't kind of do anything for me at all. But basic website understanding I have, content management systems, all of that. I love design because I have tried in the past to use a designer. This was very much at the beginning of my FabPlaces journey, and I sent them all this information and images, and the idea was that they would come up with a website design for me, and what they sent back made me realise, actually, I'm going to have to learn to do this myself, because what they've sent is so far from what it is that I wanted Fabulous Places to be. So I quickly went on that journey and taught myself lots of things. It wasn't a quick process, and looking back at some of the things I designed way back when, yeah, I can see growth. So yeah, I like to teach myself to do things. I like to go online and learn things. So if there's something that I'm not quite sure about, I'll Google it and see if there's a YouTube video or tutorial that I can follow, so that next time I don't have to worry and I don't have that panic moment that I can't do it. I do love to work with other creatives. I love to collaborate. That's one thing that isn't quite outsourcing, but it's, in a way it is. I love to collaborate on creative projects, workshops. Recently I've been working with Lauren Barber, who I have been creating setups at home, styling my home, ready for the videos for the markets, and Lauren will come and capture them for me, give her input, direct me to be doing certain things that I hadn't really thought about. So from a creative perspective, working with another person who has that eye for detail, I've really embraced that with Lauren. So that's been wonderful, and that's pretty much over lockdown. And going forward, working on reels, because they're so important. I didn't really embrace them at first, but Lauren's kind of shown me how you can create something so very beautiful that captivates whoever's watching it, but also you're sending a message. So I like to create all of those visual moments now. So it's all about working creatively with people and collaborating. But yeah, I very much like to teach myself how to do things, and then the more skills that I have in-house means that I can accomplish more as well, and I'm able to have more control over my business. The main challenge or challenges, I would say, and it's something that I can't really do anything about, it's just not having enough time to do everything. It's about having to prioritise things that I have to do and push things back because I just don't have the time to do them. And it's not a case of maybe you could delegate that, or maybe you could bring someone in to help with that, because pretty much Fabulous Places is me. Everything that I put out there is a reflection of me. So I have to, it's almost like I hand make everything I do, which is, I don't have, the markets are a product, the workshops are a product. So that's me 100% in those. So yeah, I would like some help with admin, but I don't know whether that would work for me, because I'd probably be just as involved and I wouldn't be able to delegate particularly well. So challenge is time. The challenge is also the balance of family and work, because as you know, when you work for yourself, the pressure is always there. Different times of year, things are busier, things are slower, and when things are slower, you're feeling that you should be working harder to change that. So yeah, it's just the pressures that I put on myself, and I see other small business owners as doing that as well. But it's things that I can't change. So time, I can't make more time. I can change it to maybe use my time more differently, but I'm not perfect. So I think, yeah, I think that's an ongoing thing. It's a work in progress, but yeah, time is a real challenge to kind of get your head around when you run a small business. My one piece of advice, I think, will always be to just go with the flow and expect the unexpected. I think there's always going to be opportunities to plan, and I think we can all plan everything down to the finer detail, but it doesn't always mean that it's going to go that way. So yeah, expect the unexpected. Good example today is that my little lady is unwell and she's off school, so she's in the living room watching a film, and I'm working in the kitchen getting these videos done. So yeah, expect the unexpected and don't put too much pressure on yourself if things don't quite go how you planned. I think the beauty of running your own business is that you can be flexible and you can always make up things, but also sometimes the unexpected is a good thing. That kind of challenge that comes across is actually be a really good opportunity. So expect the unexpected and be open to it. Yeah, I think that's probably my best advice I can give you. What does 2022 hold? I have to be really honest, I'm going with the flow this year. We're still not out of the pandemic. I don't think we'll ever be out of it. I think it's going to be something we have to live with. Things feel a lot lighter at the moment, definitely for me. I'm at a stage where I feel I can plan, so I'm definitely planning markets. I'm planning in-person things, but I'm also planning a lot of online things as well, because I think the balance of the two will mean that I'll be able to navigate through this year without having to cancel everything and start again. I'm hoping that we don't go back to that place, and we'll have lovely markets that people can come along to, and workshops that people can actually attend. So we'll see, but yeah, I'm very much going in with an open mind into 2022. I'm not planning too far ahead, and just making sure that everything that I do plan for this year is something that I really want to do, and just reinforces the things that I'd written down, my reflections of the pandemic, and having that restart with Fabulous Places. I've got some really good things that I've noted down that I really want to stick to. So I want to stay on that journey. I want to create beautiful markets, embrace the online, and fingers crossed this year we'll be able to get right to the end without any interruptions.